Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Michael Blackwell, and I'm here to welcome you to your new home. And I want to tell you a story that I call Elliot's New Home. And it's about coming to a new place and sort of learning the new rules of that place, learning the new languages of that place. So, who is Elliot? Elliot's a goldfish. I'll tell you a little more about him in a minute. This is a story that is true, but then again, all stories are true. Some are more true than others. But Elliot was a goldfish that belonged to my best friend Joe, who's still my best friend. And I actually met Joe probably my first month of my freshman year in biology class in, I think it's Hutchison Hall. It has a kind of small amphitheater class. And yeah, I don't know. I looked at him and he looked at me, and we sort of started talking like we were supposed to know each other. So 20 years later, Joe and I are still best friends. And Joe was a pre-vet student at the time, and he went on to become a vet and a wildlife scientist. So we had the very happy fortune of, when we lived together in probably our senior year, I guess, there were a lot of animals around, and carcasses and stuff like that, and weird things in the freezer, and skulls, and it was a pretty interesting place. And one of Joe's adventures, he's quite an interesting fellow, is that he started a reptile import business. Now, back in the day, we didn't really know that it's not so good to import reptiles, and he would never do that now. But then, it seemed really cool and interesting, and made money, and brought lots of interesting, weird people to the house. So, there was always kind of crates of lizards and geckos and iguanas and the occasional rainbow boa constrictor and sometimes a python named Sasha. And Sasha was big, probably about 14 feet long and maybe about that wide. Big snake. And I actually remember how big Sasha was because the last day of my freshman year, I drove Sasha home in my car, in my Jeep Wagoneer. Her person that owned her bill, I gave him a lift back home, and I had a big car, and Sasha was a big snake. And I can, to this day, remember her. She had free range of the car, which probably wasn't a good idea, but she would sort of crawl under the seat, and the seat would like kind of move, and she was so strong, So Sasha was a guest at our house one time, and another one of our pets was Elliot, the goldfish. And Elliot was up on a shelf, and in classic goldfish fashion, he lived in a little bowl. It wasn't the most glamorous of homes, but it seemed to suit him pretty well, and all day long he would just swim around and around and around his little bowl. Well, unfortunately for Elliot, one day, Sasha got up on the shelf with her big, strong bulk, flexed a little bit, and Elliot's bowl crashed to the ground. And poor little Elliot, who had been so tranquilly swimming, was now flopping around in sort of a puddle. So we were like, oh, we gotta get Elliot a new home. And Joe was like, Mike, go into the bath and plug it up and turn the water on, and we'll fill it up and get Elliot in there. So I run in there, like, turn the water, it's all coming out. Joe scoops up Elliot, brings him over to the bath, he throws him in there. Elliot, you made it. Alright, it's gonna be okay. Elliot, how's it going? The water's running there, and we look down, and Elliot's kind of recovering, and he starts to swim around. He seems to kind of like his new home. But then we notice that Elliot is swimming in the same little tight concentric ring that he's always swum in. He's in a big new home. It's a bathtub. And he's still acting as if he lived in his old little tiny home. Huh.